Got it. Hello, everybody. It's wonderful that you have chosen to be here for the holy purpose of this gathering, welcoming God in every moment. So a huge welcome to all of you, and of course to Andreas, who has come in on this event. Delighted that we are together again.
Yes, great to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
You're very welcome. Let's begin with a prayer. Would you like to close your eyes? And let's open our minds to spirit together. I cannot come to you without my brother. And to know my source, I first must recognize what you created one with me. My brother's is the hand that leads me on the way to you. And let's open our eyes again. We're going to begin our gathering with a conversation between Andreas and I, sharing our experiences of welcoming God. And then we will have a 10-minute silent joining and reflection. And then it will be open to you to share your experiences. So I trust that all of us coming together in this way will be blessing for all of us. So, Andreas, welcoming God in every moment. What does this mean to you?
My God. Well, it's actually very simple because since there is only this present moment, like there's no real time as we think of it, welcoming God in every moment basically means, or could only mean, to welcome him now, or to assume that I am welcomed. And there's a nice phrase in the Manual for Teachers where Jesus asked the question, how should a teacher of God spend his day? And he says there's particularly one thought that the teacher of God should remember, and it's a thought of infinite release, because all things are set free in that thought. And well, it's basically salvation, or remembering God. And then he asks, as he does it, he's asking questions in the course, and he kind of assumes the answers as well. And he says, how can the teacher of God be sure that he remembers? He can only try. And so this is basically a growth in commitment that I experience within myself. Of course, there's, doubt comes and goes, to come again and to go again and to come again, and so on and so on. And yet there's something that is carrying us through the periods of doubts where we decide for God anyway, or decide for miracle mindedness anyway, despite whatever else seems to happen. And just, whatever it takes, like it basically takes our entire human conditioning to remember him. And maybe it's reasonability, maybe it's pain that motivates us to choose again, maybe it's just feeling the conflict or the darkness that makes us choose again. Maybe it's just a sheer sticking with the lessons, or whatever comes to our mind that motivates us to say, okay, I will choose God now. I will choose a miracle now. And so in that sense, I find that there is no real formula for welcoming God in every moment, but the formula is what I am. The formula is what you are. We can't avoid God forever. So it's growing on us. That's my first take on this, kironJ.
Thank you, Andreas. Beautiful. And I'm particularly struck by you saying, assuming that God will welcome us.
Mm-hmm.
When we have ideas of a vengeful God, that we've committed this awful crime, we may not be so sure that God would welcome us back. And so in our welcome of God, we have to come through all these doubts that God would reject us, God would be unhappy with us, God would see us as miserable sinners. So thank you. That's really landed in me. And I'd like to bring something of my experience in the last 5 days. It seems like it's been perfectly orchestrated leading up to this gathering, because it's all happening in my mind, and not surprising, really. As well as focusing on this, thinking of our gathering, welcoming God, I've also been preparing for the opening class that I led with kironJ on Saturday. So there's been opening and welcoming. So there's been an awful lot of this expansion going on. And I think it was last Thursday morning I woke up and I suddenly was in a different state of mind from anything that has preceded in the last 35 years. I was suddenly aware that I've been in a 35-year, very intensive healing process, and everything but everything had been seen through the lens of this healing process. All the highs, all the lows, all the miracles, all the challenges, it had all been part of this one process. And suddenly I wasn't there anymore. And I had about half an hour of this peace and this not knowing, but saying yes. And then it faded a little bit. But I was aware something had forever shifted in my mind. So then comes the cold. So the next day, I wake up with a head cold. And the thought was, let's do this differently to any other cold that I've ever had. There was a sense of something's changed, so let's go with that. And I've been able to be with the seeming experience of having a cold. It's not been a bad one. It's been a head cold. I still sound like I'm in a swimming pool slightly, but a bit sniffly. But it's been an experience of a mind thinking about a cold more than ever before. And I realize how sneaky ego is. Oh, it's just a cold. You haven't got to think about that very much. It'll pass, you know, blow your nose and take a paracetamol and it'll all be all right. No, not going there at all this time. I'm a mind dreaming of a cold, a body, the cold feelings, the cold thoughts, the cold beliefs, and just watching my mind thinking it all. Mel dropped out and now she's come back in again. Sorry, slight distraction. And just not going anywhere near the personal identification. I have a cold. And the ego has gone bananas at this. It has not been happy at being called out on this one. It had its little safe place, common cold, yeah, and feel a bit below par and early bedtimes and that sort of thing. No. It's purely a mind choice. No causation in the world. So I've been through that, welcoming God, realizing I've got to align my mind with the truth of myself to welcome God. It's no personal welcome of God at all. And then I get another challenge yesterday. I was doing some ski teaching and there was a series of lanes in a dry ski slope, an artificial slope. And we work with the people on the lane and they move across. You don't really need to know the details, but I was standing next to a very experienced instructor who used to head the whole instruction setup at this club. And there was a huge explosion a couple of years ago. He had a protest resignation, all kinds of fallout. And now he's reduced to just doing this one session a week. And he's just like a megaphone. He speaks loudly. He's absolutely sure he's right. Everybody else is wrong. And I'm a newbie. So he was telling me with his megaphone, symbolically, exactly what should be done and how I was doing it wrong. And I did give him some feedback that he was being a bit loud. I did decide to do that. But of course, he's a figure in my mind. And what I've been noticing, welcoming God, is how the mind listening to the ego is so attracted to this story. Oh my goodness, is there resistance in just welcoming God? No timeline, no story, welcoming God or rejecting God? What's going on? I can see it so clearly now as the only decision to make. And the minds kept wanting to go to the story. Oh, he shouldn't have done that. He thinks he's so good. No, you know better. Perhaps you ought to tell another instructor about this. Yabba, yabba, yabba. On and on and on. And the pull of it has been huge. So it's told me a lot about this mind's resistance to simply welcoming God. Every moment, which means not welcoming the ego at all. So I hope something of that has been useful. And back to you, Andreas.
Yeah, wonderful. You know, what comes to my mind is the story when Jesus was asked what the greatest law is, or what the real laws are. And he says, you know, love God with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your mind, or something like that. And the second law is like the first one: love your neighbor as yourself. And I find that, you know, in 3D life, I find that very practical, because God, you know, in 3D, I have no clue what God is. I don't know who I am in 3D. I can say, okay, I'm the son of God, and And it's true. And I feel a change in my mind. I feel there's something that shifts and clears out the past. And I mean, that's practical. That's nice.
Yeah.
Nice to have. But in day-to-day activities, the thing that is closest to me is, of course, my brother is the one that I'm talking to, seemingly someone separate from me. And that makes for a good practice, because there's hardly any moment when my brother is even in form absent. So I'm always called to be vigilant in my mind. And just as a forgiveness story, where I live now, I just moved here again in September, and I lived somewhere else for 2 years. And I kept meeting a guy who's preparing kebab. You know, kebab, the thing that you get in these restaurants, Turkish specific food. And I was once introduced to him, but he never really paid attention to me. Like, every time I would order something, he would just take my order and then turn away. And even when we met in the city, there was no recognition, no nodding, no greeting, nothing. So after months and months, every now and then I would get something like this. Some sort of recognition, some sort of greeting. And wherever I was going, even in other restaurants, all of a sudden I would recognize that he changed the job and he's now in that restaurant. So I would meet him again. And I was like, I wonder, he must recognize me by now. But there was no sign of real interest, being connected, or whatever, being interactive with me. And now moving again here, I found him working in the ice parlor that we have here next to our park. And like, this is hilarious, how the plan works, because obviously relationships need to be made holy. Like, there's no way around it. Like, you can stand on your head and that goal won't change. So I came to see that he was open for one or two words besides taking orders. And today I met him again in the city with his wife, and his two of his kids were there. And I basically gave up on being extra polite to him, and just recognized he was there, and had in my mind, okay, he's probably not interested in talking or whatever. So I was just sitting outside the bakery having a coffee and something to eat with my son. And he was standing there also, pulling on a cigarette. And then he turned to, and I was looking at the pedestrians, and I thought, wow, I'm meeting myself. I'm really meeting myself, and it's no big deal. These memories that come in when you remember that you're actually really just meeting yourself. That's no big deal. It's completely natural. Actually, not meeting myself is very unnatural, and that's a lot of effort. And while I was just enjoying my new perception, he turned to me and said, "Do you know where I can sell coins?" And I was like, he's talking to me. And he was open. Like, I never experienced him that way. But he was just he turned towards me. This is how you opened our session, kironJ, that you were in silence and in connection, and then you could feel a presence, something that kept expanding. And it was the same experience with him. All of a sudden I could feel him joining. We were on the surface, we were talking about selling coins, but what happened underneath was a real moment of connection. And I couldn't believe it. And still, it felt so natural. And I was just looking at him, and sorry, he's not looking away. He's looking at me. He's there. And maybe it was a minute or two, but that was welcoming God in every moment for me, like through my brother. And, I don't know how this will play out in time, like when everyone will make the decision, or, me and everyone will make the decision to join again. But in these moments, I feel the blessing is already complete. It will expand. It will expand way more than we can possibly imagine. But as Jesus says in the Course, grace is always right. It's always the right amount. Grace has always the right temperature for our current need, so to say. Yeah. And so I feel really blessed to share this grace with you right now in our present joining.
Thank you. Yeah. Beautiful. Really, really beautiful. You followed, you had a sense, didn't you, that there was something there. And you kept noticing. Yeah. And when both minds were ready, there was the joining, looking like something every day, talking about coins, not talking about spiritual things. And that's not needed, is it? Because as you say, underneath it, the connection has happened. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this really meets with something that I'm becoming more and more preoccupied with. You mention every mind will welcome God. Every mind will want to join, and we don't know on the timeline when that will be. The Course calls this the second coming, when every mind is given into the hands of Christ, is one of the beautiful ways it's said. But when every mind decides to welcome God, and of course it's already happened, and we seem to be mentally reviewing, and we will come to the moment when every mind says forever no to the ego and forever yes to God. And my sense is to take attention to this moment when every mind will welcome God. So as part of my practice of opening to welcoming God, my prompt has been, and focus on, it's not a private welcome, focus on every mind being very, very interested in welcoming God. Every mind feeling sick and tired of specialness, separation, illusions. No, done that, been there, no interest now. Because while we have interest, it'll keep going. We have to abandon the ego, have to lose interest in the ego. And that's all the good things as well as the bad things about being this seeming person. It all has to be, no, just not interested. So I have found this very powerful. The image that came to me was like, not that I do such things, but apparently if you play computer games, you can go along, and then suddenly you're up a level or in a new room, and the whole thing seems to change, and there are new challenges and new dragons to fight and whatever happens. I feel like I've just gone into a new room. I've just gone up a level. And, yes, it's not this, I'm not saying that there's no healing needed for this mind at all, but there's something about the last 35 years that has come to a closure. And the mind is now ready to approach healing in a different way. And a few days in, my best shot at this is that it's more and more simply seeing things in terms of, is my mind welcoming God or is my mind rejecting God? That's it. No credence, no notice of the stories and the timeline, what seems to be happening, what might be upsetting, what might be interesting. No. My mind, is it welcoming God or rejecting God? That's it. And coming more and more to just living in the holy instant, which has been calling and calling and calling. And of course, in the holy instant, we only, when we practice until we can feel it more and more, we only feel the attraction to God. The sense of the body will go. So this is just drawing my heart, and I think that's where I'm happy to close. So maybe come back to you for a little bit, Andreas.
It's so good to remember this, that we only have two thought systems to choose from. So it's not a complex task. It's not a complex thing to learn. It's just, just being honest with myself where I am at the moment. And most likely, it's an opportunity to choose again and to say, okay, I'm going to align with the Holy Spirit again. I'm going to align with this moment. And, no matter what the story is that I keep telling myself in my old thought system, in the ego thought system, because it will always say something, it's not the right moment, you're not good enough, okay, you messed it up anyway already, so, there's no turning back now, you gotta, eat the soup first, and maybe then you can turn to God. Or, any reasoning that says it's not possible now, or it's not strong enough now, or it's not appropriate, or whatever. I'm not appropriate. But just to remember, yeah, he is welcoming me, and that my seeming life that I seem to live, this is not who I am, and this is not what is going on. It's so interesting because, I wake up in the morning and I think, oh my God, I'm 44. So I'm not invited to all parties anymore. I'm turning old. I'm on the verge of becoming old. Is my life over now? And what will come, of my body? Will I be fragile in a couple of years? Maybe I should do more sports and work out, and things like that. And I think this is what's going on. This is going on. I'm getting older, and it looks like this. And I just have to be honest and just break it down to the simple fact of the matter. It's just fear. I'm just in the thought system of fear, and the only solution is to accept the atonement for myself. That's all. Just remember what the Holy Spirit will tell me right now. What are you telling me right now? What can I let go of? What is my lesson right here? To let go of my judging, fear-making process, and to align again with the truth that there is only love, and not a messed up life, so to say, a messed up life that is about to die in a few moments, a few years. But I accept your vision, Holy Spirit. I accept how you want to speak to me. And when I'm letting him do this, I become incredibly happy because I see that everything is actually for me. Everything is set up for me to be happy. But it just needs, of course, it needs my collaboration in this, that my vision is allowed to be corrected, that my mind is allowed to be corrected, and the fear thought system can drop away. And then I can basically really just begin to appreciate the reflections of him in my 3D life. And just to see that my relationships this day, this present moment with you is a gift that I've overlooked while I was in fear. But now coming back into the alignment with his love and with his pure, innocent mind that is ours as one, just gives me a complete new appreciation of you, because you are making me complete. And that's a great reminder. You know, you're my savior. Thank you for showing up in my dream.
Oh, thank you, Andreas. Thank you. Thank you to everyone showing up in my dream. My dream. No, get carried away like that. I think that's a beautiful place to bring the conversation to a close for the moment. So we will go into 10 minutes silence for us to be together in mind. And it may be a silence, it may be a contemplation of the ideas that have been expressed so far. So just open and let's see what this next 10 minutes brings to us. Okay, so if you'd like to close your eyes. And we'll go into the silence now. Very slowly and gently, let's open our eyes again. We now come to the part where you are most welcome to share anything of your experiences of this gathering so far, or your experience of welcoming God. If you could use the reactions button at the bottom of the screen and raise a yellow hand, that will be very helpful. Then I can see who would like to say something. Jamuna, would you like to lead the way?
Yeah, so I don't know. This is something I was guided to share during the meditation that popped into my mind, is that no matter what, guilt is not real. Sin is not real. It's a fantasy. Nothing can ever establish guilt. It's just not real. So that's what I felt to share. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. Down to the point.
Nothing can establish guilt as real. That's putting it really powerfully. Thank you. Yeah. And if we could really get that, we could not be frightened of God. It's the only reason we're fearful, because of our guilt. Yeah.
And it opens up a complete new world. And we can really see that the real world that Jesus talks about is infinite within us. It just reaches out to itself to extend. And yeah, this is only possible because there is no guilt. It was just an error in that sense, an erroneous thought that has been corrected.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Lottie.
Thank you. And thank you both for your beautiful introductions. But to follow on what Jamuna brought about guilt, I have spoken in various forums about love coming in and replacing something that had been far from love. And I had done that yesterday morning, and it then followed on to feeling very, very guilty for needing that to happen. That I'd created a space for guilt by needing that to happen. And I contemplated it for a while, and there was this still small voice in my mind, not a voice, but it was there. The words were there. Drop the guilt and accept the gift. And that's meant a lot to me since that happened. It's applicable as welcoming God in every moment. It's yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Lottie. Isn't it typical of the ego to bind us into knots? I mean, we subscribe to it, but we see the guilt and then feel guilty about the guilt. There's no escape. Is it like that? Is there? No. Which, of course, is the ego's tactic. Doesn't want us to escape. So drop it. I sometimes think of it like a hot potato. Drop it. Ah! Don't go near it. Oof. Yeah.
He says, no, if there's anything that hurts you, or if there's anything that that you feel ashamed of, or whatever, he says, pluck it out. Same in the Bible. He's even quoted like that in the New Testament. You know, if anything, if your eyes see something that offends you, pluck it out. And he doesn't mean the eye; he means the thing, the thought. Pluck the thought out. It's not. It has no basis for existence in your holy mind. There's no reason to tolerate it at all. And there's also no solution in the thought of guilt. So out it goes. Thank you for forgiveness.
Yes, thank you. Anna.
I was thinking, I remembered that saying from the Bible, which says everything works for the good, and I'm sure also in the course it's mentioned one way or another. And I was thinking that every time I have preferences or I try to change things in my body life, then I kind of do not accept this, do not welcome God. I don't welcome the fact that everything works for good. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm understanding you. What I'm hearing you point to is when we try and take personal control of our experience. Yes, we're not trusting the flow of love in our mind. We're not trusting the Holy Spirit's correction. We think we've got to wade in and do it ourselves. Yeah, and that'll always be ego. You know, personal movement, personal reacting is always the ego. Yeah, and that indeed is not welcoming God. That is welcoming the ego thought system. So it does take willingness, quite a bit of willingness, to simply observe the images that our mind is making. Course says that everything we see with the body's eyes and hear with the body's ears, they are images of our thinking, our separation thinking. Or perhaps the Holy Spirit's correction, but to start with, they're made by our ego thoughts. And the ego will be lobbying for us to try and do something with that, fix it, change it, disguise it, drink it away, eat it away, work it away, do something with it. And Course is inviting us not to do any of that, but simply observe with the mind these images that have been made and see them as that. And then we will receive the inspiration of how to use these symbols and images perfectly for holy purpose. That's never going to happen when the person thinks they've got to get in there and do something. This can be used, but never ever, the Course is saying, to initiate from the person. Yeah. Anything else you want to say, Anna? Is that...
No, that's a very nice explanation. Just to add that we still do things in this life, but only so that we understand that it is an illusion.
Yes.
It's not that I will not do anything and stay still, but it all matters what you have in mind while doing one thing or another.
Yes, purpose is everything. Yes, thank you for the clarification. Yeah, it's not sitting on a meditation mat, although occasionally it might be, but not full time.
No.
Unlikely anyway. Andreas, anything to put in there?
Yeah, sometimes there's this thought that, okay, now I have, and the term has been used, now I have miscreated, and now it's basically there. I miscreated something and now I have to deal with it. But nothing that we make is really created. It's not like brought into existence by an erroneous thought. It is simply back to the basics, like with which mind do I think now? And the past is always over. Guilt has no source and it has no effects. Both has been undone because it wasn't made real in the first place. So whatever I thought, like even if I made the biggest mistake ever, the most guilty thing I did and thought the most guilty thing, it's undone right now. And Jesus talks about, and this is how I fell in love with this course, because he always offers us a closer look at the insanity that is going on in our mind. And at the same time, with the same breath, basically, he says, and it's been undone for you. Oh my God. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You know, when you start reading this, maybe you have the same experience or similar experience. You think like, how will this ever end? And by the end of the chapter or by the end of the paragraph, you really get a sense of it has already been undone. And this is the great liberation that Jesus offers, or God offers for that matter, and says, it's been undone for you. Like the biggest sins, the biggest mistakes, whatever we dreamt up in our wild hallucination, it has been undone and corrected. And that's the big gift that Jesus brings us with the Course of Miracles, with such clarity and certainty that we can really latch onto that and make it our own and say, it's really, I am meant, it's really for me.
Mm.
He means me, he means you.
Mm. Thank you. Yes, I love it too. It shows us how insane we are and then says, don't worry about it because it never happened. But we have to see, don't we? We have to see the insanity of it, the chaos of it, the violence of it. Otherwise, we won't choose again. Otherwise, we won't welcome God.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful.
I'm saying it
Yeah.
really needs that active new decision, just choose again. This bit of free will is required. It's not a lot, it's not much. He says it's just a little thing. Give it, give him this little gift that he asks from you, because nothing's been put on you to believe or to accept. You need to come to it through free will, and then everything will show as already been given. So it's a beautiful demonstration of free will, and that God trusts us still, that we will make the right decision.
Yeah. Thank you. So let's just take a short pause and be present and look, are we welcoming God right now? Thank you. And if the answer was no, can we simply be present with that and look without judgment, look without guilt? Just be aware that there might be fear in the mind. It's quite likely. Quite likely. Okay, so we're open again for anybody to share. Jim.
Hello, kironJ and Andreas. In answer to your last question, I wasn't sure, to be honest, whether I was or not. I was in that space where I was addressing the question and applying the mind to that question. But I think the mind's a bit dull tonight. I didn't have a clear yes or no answer. I didn't have a no answer. I didn't have a clear yes answer either. So that may be a no. I don't know. Perhaps you can throw some light on it. I've enjoyed the had so far, especially love's extension has no limit. If I really believe that, there would be no problem. Again, I clearly don't believe it because I still judge. I accept it's true, but it's not something I believe all the time. Why do you mean?
Well, in answer to your question, I'm not sure, maybe that means no. The Course does say that all doubt is self-doubt, and the Christ never doubts. So if the mind was clearly open to the Christ, it wouldn't be doubting. It would know it was welcoming God. So I hope that's useful information rather than
but yes, it
a judgment.
It confirms what I suspect.
Yeah.
I mean, we can all join with your mind right now and see that you're incredibly happy. So I wouldn't worry too much.
I think that's my mind's problem. It worries too much.
Yeah.
You seem to be very much in line with God's will. And yeah, just a pleasure to join with you. And, sometimes it's great to remember when Jesus says, don't worry about your little willingness. Whatever else seems to happen, just trust that it's already there because it's mine. So, because we come to strange places in our mind, as we progress forward in time, we're really progressing backwards because we're undoing all our past decisions for separation. So the spaces that we end up, they look funny sometimes, like really strange and weird, and you don't know what you've got to do with it. And then it's just great to remember, okay, I don't need to worry about my little willingness. He assures me it's there, it's his, and I let him do the work within me. I choose again for a miracle. I welcome God again. And trust that even if it feels weird energetically, emotionally, mentally, I trust the process is just right. The purification process is happening in my mind.
Yeah, thank you. And of course, we'll come to see that all the doubt was never really there, just like the separation was never really there. So a Jim not sure is an illusion in the mind.
Part of the dream.
Say it again, so
part of the dream.
Part of the dream, yeah. Anything else you want to say, Jim?
Well, just to reassure Andreas that he's not on the verge of being old at 44. I'm on the verge of being old. I'm 75 next. So I'm on the verge of getting old.
Oh my God. You're way closer to enlightenment than I am.
I don't think so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. It's a personal perception, isn't it? Age. When I hit 30, I thought the end had happened. I thought this was the most awful, awful thing that could ever befall me, to hit 30. The perception's changed, of course. Barb.
Myself, there we go. Hello. Hey, I was just listening to your share, and I was curious what it looked like when you had gone to an intentional choice to choose God over ego, when your fellow instructor was making himself very large and maybe taking in your space. I'm curious what that looked like. Like, did you just, I mean, because if you know in your mind that that is a dream and he's part of you, you could do anything you want, really. And I'm just wondering, what did it look like? How did you respond to him?
Well, thank you for asking.
Inquiring minds.
Yeah. So the practice now is always to be aware of the presence. I'm not saying I do it, 100% of the time, but more and more and more, I'm aware of presence and then whatever's happening. So it's a great practice at this ski club where there is no overt spirituality going on at all. Body's real, activity's real, people are real, or my mind, but this is, the scenario. So I'm practicing being in this presence while seeming to be a ski instructor and talking about rotating legs and whatever. Mm-hmm. So with this other, realizing, there's a forgiveness opportunity brewing here, then even more so, and particularly with this coming up, this was yesterday, welcome God, welcome God, welcome God, welcome the presence of God, welcome God in this mind. See that this mind is also welcoming God. And then that is a kind of rooting. That's kind of the stand to take, the position to take in the mind, and then observing everything that was happening, what he was saying, what I was saying, what the skiers were saying and doing. But it really is like watching a video. It's like I'm in this presence and there's this video going on. And not a lot of thinking, not a lot of human thinking, just this opening, welcoming. And then I just got a very clear prompt to say to him, can I give you some feedback? And so I felt that was spirit directed. And he said, yeah, I take it. So that felt like an acknowledgement of that mind participating in the process. Yeah. And then with all the ego thinking afterwards about how wrong he was and how right he thinks he is and blah, it's the same process. Be in this presence and watch all the blah, 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 simply as separation thoughts in the mind that don't mean anything. And then watching the pull, wanting to replay, mm-hmm. Just acknowledging all this welcoming God, and the mind wants to do something else now. So the mind is frightened. The mind is very frightened, actually, with the extent of the opening, can feel the shrinking back to darkness. So keep stepping back, keep stepping back, keep stepping back, and observing as big a picture as possible of what's going on. And deep meditation this afternoon to let go, be here, be present. Look through spirit's eyes. That's been the process. Yeah. Is that?
Yeah, that's very awesome. And it's kind of almost exciting when you find yourself in a position that where you are taken aback and you feel something right on you like that, to remember and try to do it differently like you did, and not just go to the knee-jerk go-to response, leaving yourself with all your intentions. Sometimes when something like that happens, goes out the window and you just go right back into your mode. So that's really helpful. I like that. Thank you so much for sharing it.
Thank you, Barb. Yeah. And it's practice, my experience, practice
Yeah.
in the non-reactivity and the choice for spirit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What about you, Andreas? What do you do in such a situation?
Yeah, I mean, a good indicator is always the heat that comes up, the heat of being right. And like the reminder, the alarm clock, well, not an alarm clock, but more like, okay, it's good to be vigilant right now. It will pay off to not be right. So make a new decision, choose a miracle, choose to join again. And yeah, just within a short period of time, see that usually my experience is that the whole situation turns around and that it's actually dissolving in a helpful situation. It turns itself into a helpful situation where I can meet my brother eye to eye, like on the same level, and I can feel out what is helpful right now. And either I have been presented with a gift, or I can be with my brother in his transformational process. And even if, it doesn't matter if this brother is into spirituality or not, but he's opening up to me, and it's my call for help, and I can answer. I'm equipped to answer just by not bringing my old ideas into the situation. And then it will just naturally turn into a miracle.
I like it. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jamuna.
Sorry, I really I know it's a double time, but I just felt guided to ask, about this our sibling, the ski instructor brother that brought up all the beautiful gifts for you. Would you say it's about coming back to the holy instant and recognizing I do not know what this is for, recognizing the oneness with the brother, and then asking what to say? Do you say that that's a practice of like the holy instant? I hope my question makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, it's yes, you're coming back to the truth. You're seeing a false situation. I was seeing a false situation. It seemed like there was somebody there. It seemed like I was a person. He was talking to me. That's all in the dream. So come to the holy instant, and it's seen as a dream. Yeah, that's in the holy instant. We are joining minds. We are seeing our equality. We are seeing only the attraction of God. And from there, we are shown what to do at this level. We are shown what to say, if anything, what to do, if anything. Yeah. So I would say that's the practice of the holy instant, and then flowing from that, letting the holy instant, the holy relationship is the holy instant extended in our experience. So it's going with what was shown in that quiet center, in that holy instant. And I can feel a great connection with this brother, a peace. Although there's been all the blah, blah, blah going on, there is a great peace there. I can feel that our minds are working together for healing in this situation.
So you were willing to be wrong because the ego wants to be right. Yeah.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's like a
yeah,
stepping aside.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
yeah. Andreas said it beautifully. The heat of it, could feel the heat of it. No, 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 no. Oh no, 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 no. Although it was a bit like turning round an ocean liner. It doesn't turn on a sixpence. It takes a bit of turning round. But there was only one decision: to start turning it around, start taking away the flame underneath that situation. Ego. No, don't want that.
Yeah, we can really assume it is really a misunderstanding on a large scale. I am misperceiving. I am widely hallucinating right now. There's nothing right about what I see. So it's not about the speck of dust in the eye of my brother. It's the beam in my eye that needs to be removed. And yeah, that's always the gift that I can give to myself, basically, to ask for the correction of my mind. And it always pays off, you know. There's always the gift behind it, and you really, like, I'm sure all of us know this on a daily basis, to almost to come with a certain stubbornness and insisting on truth, not because we have to insist in front of God, give me the answer, but because we are so trained to judge and to justify our grievances, that I need to be really, and Jesus used that term with Helen. He said, you have to be really stern with yourself. You have to be really absolutely clear with yourself, not to run with your old thoughts, but to make a new decision and to stand in that change of mind that the Holy Spirit wants to bring about in you, so that you can actually start, stop crucifying yourself and come into the resurrection of your own mind. It's about time.
I so agree with this being stern with ourselves, or whatever phrase we'd like to put in there, that we have to be really resolute to let go of that endless looping of ego thinking. No, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to stay here with spirit, and I'm going to stay here with spirit, whatever's going on, and I'm going to do it. Keep being there. And it can be an absolute ego blizzard, ego storm, but we do have the power to stay here with spirit. We absolutely do have that power. Mind does.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, we've been given so much, like, even it looks quite simple, or when we talk about it, it is actually very simple. It's just staying with that decision. But that decision has the power to undo all of the worldly laws. They're all undone when I choose a miracle, and because they've never been real in the first place. But they are also undone in my own experience of myself. Whatever I thought I have to be slave to was just my own thought. It was just my own rule that I invented, but that had no reality to it at all. So that's what miracles do. That's why they are practical, because they help us in whatever situation we find ourselves, and they give us a complete new interpretation of everything at once.
Everything.
Moment.
Okay, well, we've got a little more time if anybody has something to say. Serena.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been sitting here just really taking this in, and this bubbles up to say, so this welcoming, welcoming God, these two words, I wasn't able to really rest in them. But over the past 24 hours, welcoming and allowing has come very strongly into my mind. And there has been terror has come up, rage has come up. And I said, you are welcome here. And when I said, you are welcome here, it wasn't from a place of, it wasn't from Serena. It was from somewhere, I can say Holy Spirit, I can't even put a word to it. But it was and continues to be this experience of saying, the war is over. There's no fight here. You are welcome. Come in. And this love occurs and it dissolves because it isn't welcoming to keep. It is welcoming to not resist. And then last night when this was occurring, there was resistance. And I thought, all right, I'll welcome that. But I'm saying all right casually, but it wasn't casual. It took quite some effort to move to the place of Serena not trying to get rid of something, but rather allowing it without judging it. And in it, so I've been up since 4 a.m. I was awakened and writing in my diary and seeing that God is in all of it. It's me, the Serena, that pushes God away and says, nope, no, can't look like this. It's got to look like this. And I'm saying, I welcome whatever is here because this is my opportunity to allow it, to see it for what it really is and allow spirit to move it the way it needs to be moved. So Andreas was talking about purification, and this feels like this purification because I put so much effort into this isn't real and that's not real, and all of that was important to get a ground, to not be afraid of these things. And now the space is here to say they're here, right now. And spirit is here, and there's a presence here. And I open to allowing it and welcoming it for the healing of my mind.
Right.
Yeah, so welcoming everything,
Yay.
holding on to nothing.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
Amen to that. What I hear is a wide open welcome to the healing process. Whatever needs to happen, let it happen.
Yes.
Yep, I know what I want. I want God, and whatever has to happen in the process, then I say yes to it. That's the message I've received from you, and it's a powerful one. Yeah.
Yes, I
All
had
powerful.
Yes, I had an experience 8:15 in the morning with the property manager and a difficulty with the lock. And I'm listening, I'm being patient. And as we say goodbye, this rage comes up from deep in me. And I'm walking back to my apartment and I heard it. I said, all right, you're welcome here with this openness. And by the time I got in the door, it had dissolved. Mm-hmm. And the important thing in this is that Serena can't do this. That when Serena gets in, it doesn't work.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Serena. Janet, I think this may be our last sharing. Yeah.
Well, then I'm happy I got up the courage to raise my hand. So I want to share an experience of welcoming, because as this conversation has gone on, it happened when I was a child, a small child, redundant. I was around 5. And I remember being outside and having this feeling of just oneness. And perhaps it's easier to do that when you're a child and don't have as many blocks up against this idea of being part of everything. And it must have been profound because I still remember it, and I'm way more than 5. So for me, one of the things about it is that it lets me know that this experience of welcoming God, having a profound resonance of oneness, is so available to all of us to have. And it can certainly show up when we least expect it, but it's there waiting for us. Because I think Andreas said something, I think it was you, about, God wanting us to be happy and to have this. And it's like, from the Course, I believe it says that, he's conspiring for our happiness. It's like the best conspiracy theory there is, that God is conspiring for us to really understand and to be as happy as he wants us to be. So anyway, thank you for doing this. This has been lovely. Lots of faces I've never seen before, and I appreciate being here.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you.
Sharing.
Yeah. Anything you want to say, Andreas, on that?
It's just beautiful to see that we all have experiences of awakening and of healing and remembering the oneness, and how natural all of this is. It's the only thing that's going on. That's the only party in 3D, is our awakening. And so I cherish all these reminders, all these stories, all these moments of renewal, basically. It's it is really, since there's only one of us, I remember how we remembered. I remember how I awoke. And this is really what's going on right now. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. Shall we all close our eyes and notice our thoughts, feelings? And ask ourselves, what have been the most significant gifts of this joining today? And don't expect answers now, they may come. Don't try and guess what these answers should be. Let's just give space for a moment or two and ask, what have they been, these gifts for our mind? Let's open our eyes again. Well, I would like to say a really huge thank you to everyone for choosing to be here.
Yes.
Because as always, it's a collaboration. Whatever words have come out of whichever mouths, it's doesn't really matter. It's our minds coming together and joining. That's the meaning of this. And I'm so very grateful to be part of it. And I'm so very grateful to you, Andreas, for joining in.
Yeah, likewise, it's a real pleasure. And you know, it pays off to stick around, because there's always another, you know, deepening or widening of the communication in the mind. You know, we're really coming towards the blocks where we said, okay, no further than this, but we're sticking around for a bit longer, and you can feel, okay, there's more on offer. I'm entering into a communication quality within myself that was previously unfamiliar to me. So yeah, just, you know, it's always a good advice. Stick around with the guys who want the same thing.
Yes, yeah. So before we go, is there anything, Andreas, that you would like to share about your current work? What's coming up? Anything like that?
Thank you for the opportunity, kironJ. I'm organizing a festival, and it's a Course in Miracles festival here in Germany, but the next one, we organize one in December, but that will be purely German speaking. But the one in May will be an international festival. So feel free to join, feel free to consider coming to Germany physically. Means getting onto a plane, flying over to Cologne, getting a big hug from someone who will pick you up from the airport, and, you know, coming to our venue here. It's a great experience. Everyone who joins this is always, it's 4 days, 5 days. Everybody's blown away by what happens within those couple of days. You know, Susanne is laughing because she's been there. And it's always amazing how a field of like-minded people offer an opportunity to reflect yourself in a new way. And yeah, so I would like to invite everybody to come, even from Hawaii, you know, Hawaii or Berlin, you know, that's the same illusion. So just, you know, come on. Nothing else you got to do anyway.
Yeah. Thank you. I've been to one of Andreas's festivals and can highly recommend the whole experience. Yes, and we were recently at the Greece festival, and some of you were there, and beautiful, life-changing thing, mind-changing thing to do. Yeah. So yeah. And I'd just like to mention, my whole program's on my website, kironJ.com, but I would like to highlight a 6-month program coming up January to June, 12 sessions under the banner of Students of Joy. It's a study and experience series, so there'll be pre-reading before each session and healing processes within the sessions. And it's the only one like that I'm doing next year. I often do shorter ones, but several in a year, and I'm doing one longer one in the year. So if that is resonating at all, there are 3 places left, 16 altogether. And I'm happy to send you the details if you're interested. So, okay, that's announcements. When the recording is done, I will send it to you all. It'll be later this week, and you're very welcome to share it if you feel so inspired. Okay, so shall we just look around the screens?
And I invite everybody to have a look at Serena. Serena's just trying to, you know, shake off the Holy Spirit in her face.
Oh, yes.
This is, it's the most, so what is this? Is it an app or something? An app on Zoom, but it's actually a real reflection of light.
Yeah.
Rainbow colors all over her face.
Yeah. Yeah. Joining in gratitude for it all.
Yeah.
Rainbow colors and everything else. Thank you. Maybe you'd like to unmute yourselves and we can say a goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.